he did not yet publish that book. It came
Oh,
later,
okay,
maybe.
okay, okay, okay. So, Fasa, yeah, that will be very interesting if later you can, if you can also tell us. But my question is,
Well,
my question
you
is,
know, I
is
am teaching this Chinese group in Hong Kong and this Indian group in Mumbai. The Tieshan meeting, uh, that is a base for the Yogacara tradition. So it's very fascinating because they have also kind of a Abhidharmic approach, but based on a different analysis. But it works also. It works perfectly. When you, in order to understand Buddhism, we need some system in the mind. When we have a system, we can work and digest easily. And it is actually not so important what kind of system you put in the mind, but when you have a system, it's easy to succeed. No? And this POWOK system is very wonderful, very, very easy to succeed because you have very systematic approach one by one. And he can guide you every day. You learn some new thing, how to see a new uh, characteristics of the mental factors and of the rupas. So it's very fascinating. I'm so grateful that I could learn this system. And on that base, one can learn a lot of things. But the Theravada is very conservative. They don't want to learn anything than what is written in the Pali. No, they will not accept anything. That is the most conservative tradition in Buddhism. You can't change it.
and nowadays everything that was written in the book, everything, anything that already written can be mastered by AI, Pastor.
I see. I don't know about that. You are good in computer. I Fortunately I never got interested because I grew up in communist times and the computer in my time was only used to control the population. So I have very bad attitude to computer and to technology. But it is my advantage also because I can remember a lot of things.
Pastor, so my question is like this. In the past, you learn a lot about how to differentiate nama, rupa, and then the very detailed characteristic, category, classes, everything in very detailed manner. Now, on the contrary of this text, the Awakening Mahayana faiths, I believe they teach on the other hand, they even do not suggest us to differentiate between the
Now,
body and mind.
if it is written by Ashwagosha was a Sarvastivada master. He must have learned it. Nagarjuna has also learned this Abhidharma. Asanga has learned this Abhidharma. All these great masters of the past, they learned the Abhidharma. That was, and from Abhidharma, the Mahayana is kind of a critique of the Abhidharma approach. That's why in China, before you learn the Weishe, you have to learn at least Jishalun, Abhidharma Kosha, and if possible, you also have to learn the Tavibhashalun, the Mahavibhasha Shastra, which is very long, and it this compilation of the knowledge of analysis according to Sarvastivada. So it does not mean, this is kind of a misunderstanding, that when you have non-dualistic approach that you don't need Abhidharma. That is a misunderstanding. We need correct differentiation. Without correct differentiation, we cannot do anything. So even in the Chittamatrata, you have to learn the seven kinds of suchness. The first suchness is no swabhava, no self-nature. Second is since there is no self-nature, or the differentiations are only skillful means and not the ultimate reality. And all the differentiations are based on the bijas, on the seeds of our previous experiences, what we experienced before, what we learned before. And then you have the suchness of the Four Noble Truths, the suchness of suffering, which is called Anli, the basic suchness. Then you have suchness of bad conduct, the suchness of accumulation. Then you have suchness of the cessation, and the suchness of the correct conduct, of the middle path. They are also suchness. And this suchness is understood by disciples, but the suchness of no self-existence or self-characteristic, no suchness of real differences, and no suchness, and the suchness of all differences being the seeds in the mind, that is there only for bodhisattva, not for the disciples. So still, even a bodhisattva needs the suchness of the Four Noble Truths, which includes understanding of nama, rupa, and all this. Okay, so let us start. Otherwise, we will never come to an end.
Okay, thank you,
So
Master.
everybody is ready.
Yes, Master.
So let us repeat, because our friend Agus was not here. Let us repeat what we have learned. Just in we have learned the now these three stages. There are three stages in the development of bodhicitta. And the development of bodhicitta, of the enlightened mind, which means actually the non-dualistic mind. We have covered the first most important stage, which is the development of bodhicitta based on faith. There are 10 kinds of faith, including, we did not go in detail, but they include actually all the virtues the Shravakas need to get any realization, concentration. In order to get to see the true Dharma, which is Nirvana, we need the accumulation of merit, and we need accumulation of wisdom, which is Vipassana. And when we don't have this accumulation, we cannot do the right effort. And when we don't do the right effort, we cannot enter the stream. Now, for the bodhisattva, the right effort is developing the faith. This should be very clear. When he develops the faith and the faith becomes established, becomes Genshin. If you know, Master Shenyan's first book is called also Genshin, the true faith, or the true conviction. So a bodhisattva, it is very difficult to see non-dualistic reality because we are all programmed to hold to our differentiations. This programming is terribly deep. The more we have success in meditations, the more we will find out how deep is this programming. So even the great meditators say that they never say they have realized something. They always say that their faith is unshakable. This is already very great achievement, in fact. That means when we have learned before, when some negative thought arises, they immediately notice it and turn away from it. This is already a very great achievement. And in the Bodhisattva tradition, in the Mahayana tradition, it is based on realization of the faith. When we realize the faith, we don't allow the negative thought to continue. So we can then actually get a clear idea of the suchness for Bodhisattva. Even so, he has not yet realized it. He gets a very clear idea of suchness. So he is not afraid of samsara. And we have learned last time, actually, this practice of the faith is based, there are three questions. Who practices the faith? So it is those who have not yet the determined gotra, the determined family. There is, when you have the determined family, you are sure to either attain nirvana or attain the highest realization or attain the pratyeka Buddhahood, the three kinds of Buddha in Buddhism. When you realize the faith, then you are sure to attain the supreme realization. Just like in the Shravaka, as explained in Northern tradition, in Sanskrit tradition, when you have the acceptance of the Dharma, the Ren, then you are not the outer Pritakjana, but you are the inner Pritakjana, not the Wai Fanfu, but the Nei Fanfu. Nei Fanfu is one who really understood Buddhism. So he won't believe in any other teachings because he sees that the teaching of Buddhism is perfect. There is not a fault in Buddhism. There is a fault in our understanding. Because according to the Buddhist, what the Buddha has taught, is the truth, which it doesn't matter if there is someone who teaches it or there is no one who teaches it, that truth always stands. So one who has realized the face, he does not belong to any gotra, any family of either of the students of Buddha, of the Shravakas, nor of Pratyeka Buddhas, nor of Bodhisattvas. And he then practices the virtues which one needs for realization. Uh, so he attains it by the cultivation of three minds. We have explained that, and by cultivation of the three shilas, and they are also based on the cultivation of the skillful means. We had talked about the four kinds of skillful means which he practices. The skillful mean, these three minds. There is this direct mind, which is contemplation of suchness, non-duality. This is called the direct mind. And this is the mind based on the great non-dualistic wisdom. Pragya Paramita, Pore Polomi. Since he is based on the Pore Polomi, he can also practice a deep mind, collecting the the kushala dharmas, the healthy phenomena, healthy, which lead to better and better state of existence. And he does it by practicing the skillful means of the shame and fear of doing evil, which is the deep mind, the skillful means for deep mind. And he does it also by how they call it? He does it by increasing his roots of merit, and finally he does it by developing the great compassion. Due to this great compassion, he learns not to separate, which is a very difficult practice, not to separate from himself and others. So he vows he works with determination on his vow to not to liberate only himself, but all sentient beings, not to remove his own defilements, but defilements of all sentient beings, and to learn all the skillful means for that, so that he can attain omniscience, which is the aim of the Bodhisattva practice. Omniscience we can only get by realizing suchness. There is no other way. And when one realizes suchness, one gets, as we have, the text explains, he gets incredible powers. He can perform all the 8 miracles of the Buddha, going to the womb, consciously stay in the womb, consciously go out of the womb, consciously, then renunciate, then get the enlightenment and teach the Dharma, and then go to the parinirvana consciously. So by practicing well the faith, he gets then spontaneous power to practice his vows. It becomes a natural power. This is what I have heard also some Tibetan teachers say, who are very accomplished. Master Shenyan say, even this my Japanese teacher used to say that his he acts spontaneously to stick to his vows. When we can do it, that means we are on the way to realize the faith. Then the realization of the faith is, as we have said, is in 3 stages. In the first stage, he gets fear of falling into the practice of the Shravakas, or into the practices going to heaven. So so he already is, so to say, programmed for what happens in the next stage, and that is he starts practicing abandoning bondage to the object. As the Lineaging Suhangama Sutra explained the difference between the realized practitioner and the non-realized practitioners as us, is that the realized practitioner, he is mastering the objects, but in our case we are still mastered by the objects. But at this stage he gets the understanding that the real nirvana is not different from the suchness, from the dharmata, from the true nature of the things. And also, he, in order to get this first stage, officially he has to practice for 10,000 kalpas. 10,000 kalpas, which are the first 10,000 kalpas of the first Asamkhya kalpa, the uncountable kalpas. Uncountable kalpas, we can't even count, but even the one kalpa is some presume something like counting in hundreds of thousands or millions of years. Then 100,000 kalpas is already quite long time. And when he gets this, then he is ready to uh, get into the higher stages, more excellent stages of the bodhisattva practice. We can then, the first is practice of the 10 kinds of faith. When we have mastered the 10 kinds of faith, we are established. We dwell in bodhicitta. When we dwell in bodhicitta, then we are actually attuning to the practice of abandoning the sign of the objects. We have already some understanding of the non-dualistic practice. And this is indeed a very great achievement, because then we can start understanding that this subject and object, this Tianfen and Xiangfen, the seer and the seen, they are not separated. They don't stand one against the other. So we get the taste of the non-dualistic practice. We get the taste of the Dharma eye, of the eye of wisdom, and of the non-dualism. And when we get to the second stage based on conduct, so we are, so to say, already attuned to the true practice of the paramis, of the perfections. True practice of the perfections, according to the Mahayana, is based on non-duality, is based on abandoning the uh, holding to the signs of the objects as being real. So in the first stage, we are practicing based on determination, but in the second stage, based on the correct practice of conduct, we are, so to say, already attuned to the non-dualistic wisdom. In Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, we have 3 kinds of wisdom we have to master: the worldly wisdom, the supermundane wisdom, and neither worldly nor supermundane wisdom. That means the non-dualistic wisdom, which teaches us that this samsaric reality in which we live is not different from the principle which we have practiced by determination, from the principle of the enlightened mind, based on the understanding that the samsara and nirvana, they are not 2 separate entities, but they actually not separated. So first we have determination, we have idea, but at understanding of the conduct, then we are turned to facts rather than working with determination and with the Li idea, what is to be done with the vows. Here, these vows, they boil down to facts. This is very important stage. So Uh, Now, the practice of principle and the practice, the actual practice, they boil, they melt together. And so one gets the deep insight that actually the suchness is the only reality. There is no other reality. Before, the suchness was the object of the vows. Now, the suchness becomes the only reality. There is no other reality. But yet, still, of course, the one has to rely on differentiation. Go beyond differentiation, one has to get direct realization. But the correct differentiation becomes natural, and so the uh, practice of the paramis becomes also kind of natural practice. So one becomes truly the one who is equal in the path of the disciples, equal to the tolerance of the Dharma, Shanti. When we are attuned to the tolerance of the Dharma, tolerance of the which is tolerance of the dependent origination based on understanding of the 12 links. Here it is the tolerance of the suchness. The 12 links, just like the Four Noble Truths, they become suchness. And to this understanding of suchness is then added, as we have pointed out, the suchness of selflessness of all the phenomena, suchness of non-reality of true differentiations, and the suchness that these differentiations, they are based on, because we all differentiate in a different way, even we are all same human beings, we are all differentiating in a different way. Why? Because we have different seeds in the mind. This is also becomes suchness. So it leads to the knowledge that actually the mind is the only reality. So based on this, these and practices of paramis, knowing when we know that the mind is the only reality, then what will happen? That this only reality, it is free from from greed, attachment. The attachment, it belongs to our illusionary thoughts, but the true reality is free from attachment. Therefore, the true generosity does not belong to an individual. The true generosity becomes to belongs to suchness. Similarly, through discipline, through virtues, and also belong to suchness. The true forbearance belongs to suchness. True effort belongs to suchness. True concentration belongs to suchness. True wisdom, true clarity belongs to suchness. Once gets this insight at this stage of understanding the correct conduct. So first we have had understanding of the uh, practice of faith, which brings us to already to clarity about the practice. Then this clarity about the practice leads in dwelling in bodhicitta, Jew, 10 kinds of Jew. Then here we are, understanding of the conduct, 10 practices of the uh, correct conduct. Correct conduct of bodhisattva is the paramis. So we get the correct understanding of the paramis. All perfections belong to the uh, true reality. Call it dharmata, call it dharmakaya, call it emptiness, call it suchness, call it dharma uh, the sphere of dharma. Call it the the bhutakoti, the extreme of the reality. However you call it, it is the real deposit of virtues, not an individual. So this brings us to this great practice, which is so difficult, to do good and not to expect results as we usually do. When we do good, we expect some results. But at this stage of correct practice, the bodhisattva starts practicing spontaneously or tries to practice spontaneously. So, because he has been, in order to get this achievement, he must have been practicing for a very, very long time. 10,000 kalpas or more. This 10,000 kalpas is also, before was explained, when he gets a realization of the face, he has also more freedom to understand that this, even though these kalpas are there, so in one moment of non-thinking, of clarity of non-thinking, we also get some understanding that this we are also part of the reality which is timeless. This insight takes a lot of time to know that we are part of the reality which is timeless, then goes beyond the worldly wisdom and also goes beyond the wisdom of the supermundane wisdom of going away from samsara and attain the end of ignorance, which means end of samsara. Here, the ignorance means non-understanding the true nature of reality. At this stage of understanding conduct, one gets insight into that actually we are living in a timeless dimension. That becomes very clear to him. So he starts practicing not based on a differentiation, but based on the dharmata. And in the dharmata, we get the insight that there is no true observer and the true observed, which are separated. So one also gets insight into the stages of realization. According to the Yogacara, there are 5 stages of realization. First stage is called Adhara. We have to have a base in suchness. When we have the base in suchness, Adhara or Soi, then we learn Adana. Adana means correct attention, correct application, correct attention to the object, which implies concentration. Without concentration, and concentration here is based on continuity of the mind on the object. First on the object and then on the mind, which is freed from object. First we have to learn, according to Yogacara, the traditional mastery of the concentration, of the attainments with an object, and then turn the mind on itself by which will enable us to practice correct adana, correct application to the mind. The true mind has no object. The object arises from the mind. When one sees it very clearly, one has adana. And to see it also, when we practice the traditional dhyanas, what will happen? We will be isolated from the body. That means that we are living in the what is called manomaya kaya, the mind-created body. This experience of the mind-created body is possible then to drop the object and learn the third stage. The third stage is called adarsha, the mirror. We will understand that actually the mind is like the mirror in which the objects are reflected, but the objects in the mirror, they actually do not cannot be separated from the mirror. Cannot be objects appearing in the space, cannot be separated from the space. So this is based on the adana, on correct application of the mind. Then we will understand that the nature of the mind is mirror. This is a third stage of realization. Then the next stage of realization is called aloka. Aloka means light. When the mind has no object, or when it stays with the object without any interruption, so it produces light, and the light is actually not separated from the nature of the mind. The wisdom is, so to say, guest to the mind. Defilements, the ignorance is guest to the mind. Defilements are guests to the mind. At this stage of practice, one starts to get some insight into that. So one knows, as far as Yogacara is concerned, that the true realization is ashraya paravriti, Juan Soi, instead of alaya, the Soi of the mind, the base of the mind becomes wisdom, the body of wisdom. We have learned in the previous part, the body of wisdom, jnana kaya, is inseparable from the suchness. Suchness means the body of wisdom. And when we realize the body of wisdom, then we realize the what Yogacara calls the alaya, which literally means the mind which sticks to the world, becomes the body of wisdom. Then the manas, which we have learned is a base for continuity of the mind, individual continuity of the mind, for organ of thinking, becomes the wisdom of sameness. And all the other consciousnesses, the six consciousness, become wisdom of beautiful observation, Miao Quan, and the five consciousnesses become the wisdom of accomplishing whatever one does. So one can get, by practicing the paramis correctly, one can get insight into that. But still, this is only understanding the small part of the Dharmakaya. But still, it is already a great achievement, without which one cannot have the direct realization of bodhicitta, which is the third part of the practice of the faith. The bodhicitta based on realization. When one has bodhicitta based on realization, what will happen? One will achieve the first bhumi, first base or first stage of the bodhisattva realization. And this first stage in Chinese tradition, it is called the pure mind, the Qin Xin, Qin Qin Xin, or Qin Xin, or Qin Ti. So when we have the direct realization, which is similar to Sotapanna, when we have the realization of Sotapanna, then we are to be sure to attain Nirvana sooner or later. Here we are sure to attain the Buddhahood, but still it will take some innumerable kalpas. Depends on counting. Some count that when we attain the 8th stage of the practice of the bhumi, we have attained the first asamkhya kalpa. Some have the idea that when we attain the first bhumi, and some even believe that Nagarjuna, the great Nagarjuna, second Buddha, has only attained the first bhumi. Some believe he has attained 8th bhumi. Some believe that, like Taishi Tashi believes that the author of this treatise attained the 8th bhumi. Sangha is said to have attained the 8th bhumi. In the 8th bhumi, one has attained only the first asamkhya, uncountable kalpa. However we explain it, we have the gradual path and we have the sudden path. The sudden path and gradual path, they are not to be taken as two the opposite explanation. They are to be taken as complementary explanation, and that is very difficult. So the idea of Shenshu is actually not a contradiction to the idea of the Huineng. One is polishing the mirror, and at the same time, one understands that this mirror is not something to be attached to or to think that it really exists. Everything in Buddhism is only skillful means, finally. The true realization, as we have seen in the beginning of this explanatory chapter, is not connected with names, is not connected with any signs of the objects. And so all we can learn is the skillful means to penetrate it and to make it spontaneous understanding. So in this stage of the realization, one gets a clear understanding here in the previous stage of understanding conduct. Then one practices after the 10 practices of correct conduct, one practices the 10 practices of the parinama, of transference of merit, which is connected with what we have explained as one practices with understanding that all perfections belong to uh, the true reality, not to individual. This is a very difficult understanding, very difficult to attain because we all are so deeply rooted in the idea that we are the doers, not the suchness, not the true nature of the things is actually doing all the virtues. Then when we get the direct realization, when we get the light of the mind which is established in itself, so we get the understanding that there is uh, no real object of the mind. The distinction between the subject and the object is illusionary. They are not something which is uh, one opposed to another. So when we get the pure mind, it means that we have understanding that suchness is the only gochara, is the only literally vesture of the mind, object of the mind. There is no other object of the mind, there is no other subject of the mind. There is only one reality, which, for lack of any better name, we call suchness, tathata. And this knowledge of tathata, of suchness, becomes the knowledge body or dharmakaya. And in dharmakaya, there are no true differences. In dharmakaya, everything is actually based on same reality. So without this understanding, we still rely on the differentiating wisdom. At this stage, of course, the differentiating wisdom becomes, we still differentiate, just like the one who has entered the stream here, or even the one who is the third stage of the disciples, still has some obstacles, minor obstacles, but the obstacles become less and less obstacles to the non-dualistic knowledge, becomes less and less as one goes from the stage of pure mind to the higher stages of the bodhisattva realization by mastering the paramis. We will come to it in the next chapter. By mastering the perfections, one then sees the Dharmakaya as the only reality, in which there are no true opposites of one phenomena standing in opposite to the other. In this reality of realized bodhicitta, there is no such thing. So we are attuned to this, what we have said, the great mirror wisdom, which is Fazang and so on, compared to the Indrajala, to the Indranet, in which each and every jewel reflects in other, all the other jewels, one in all and all in one. This is the reality that Huayan tries to lead us to, the reality of realizing that all beings and things, they are related to each other in terms of not of true differentiation, but of this being like sameness. So at this stage, then, as we was explained in the explanatory part, one has the knowledge of purity and one has the knowledge of the Pukas ye, of unthinkable, spontaneous karma. So due to this, one is able in one moment to penetrate all the different worlds in the 10 directions, as the Dashabhumika Sutra, Shaju King, which is part, which is very important sutra, explains that the higher stage one attains, higher bhumi one attains, the more in samadhi, the more words he can penetrate. Until in case of the Buddha, there are no limits whatsoever. So at this stage, then, according to the commentaries, the bodhisattva who attains this stage, he will understand that there is not any fixed dharma. Nothing is fixed in this world. In one moment, one can penetrate all different words in the great universe, and so this timeless dimension becomes the part of his practice. So he sees that all is the one indivisible reality, in which the principle and the facts, and also the facts interact. Then the text explain that the bodhisattva who has attained this stage of realization, he has three subtle signs. When he has these subtle signs, it does not mean that he is equal to the Buddha. He is still working, as we have learned in the preparatory part, he is still working with the karmic consciousness. So he is not free, he is not yet the Buddha, but he is sure to become one. Just like a Sotapanna, he is not an Arahat, but he is sure to become an Arahat. He is sure to become an Arahat because once he has direct knowledge of Nirvana, this world in which we live does not seem to be real. Now, the difference here is not only that this world in which we live does not seem to be real, but uh, the uh, the also that which is beyond the world does not seem to be real. So actually, there is only one reality, not any second one. But yet, this resultant consciousness, which is what keeps the beings in samsara. We are in samsara because we have this vipaka consciousness, we have resultant consciousness, where the seeds of our previous karmas have been stored and we react according to them. But in case of Buddha, these seeds have been emptied. So he becomes Dharmakaya. But realized Bodhisattva, they have not yet been emptied. So he is not the Buddha, but he is sure to become the perfectly realized Buddha. So even though he has understanding of suchness and it is the only object for him which is there, still he is connected with the subtle distress of existence, but he accepts the subtle distress of existence not for because he is bound to this karma, but because he wants to attain the vow of attaining the supreme Buddhahood. The supreme Buddhahood in this tradition means a complete understanding of the one reality, which is the reality of the mind. According to Yogacara, only the Buddha, the fully enlightened Buddha, understands fully the uh, the Vigyapti Matrata, that the mind is the only reality. And all that it implies. That means full realization of these 7 kinds of suchness which we have mentioned, and going beyond the vikalpas, the differentiations, and going beyond the prapancha, the clinging to the uh, perceptions and feelings that the mind is linked to. So by desire, uh, the chain of the thinking mind is continuing, but here the desire cannot be exhausted because one has not yet attained the full understanding of Dharmakaya, which for the Yogacara means the full understanding of the mind. So he understands that this samsara uh, has no real any established self characteristics, because it has no self characteristic, no self existence. Therefore, it has no real nimitta, no real image exists in it, no real name exists in it, and no real differentiations exist in it. Hmm? So, because of that, he not only understands the Pudgala Nairatmya, the non-existence of a self in beings, but also he understands and penetrates the non-existence of any true reality which one can hold in things. The differentiation in things, as we have already explained, consists of the is created by these seeds in the consciousness. Hmm? So, from the point of view of Yogacara, he understands that first there has to be image. When there is image, the name can arise, concept can arise. On the base of name and concept, we have the differentiations, all differentiations based on the image and the name. They are not real, nothing to be clung to, but they are these causes and conditions which created them. And so these causes and conditions, they are based on suchness. And he applies this this samprajanya, uh, this awareness, samprajanya, maybe we translate by awareness, that will be best translation. So he has this awareness of not reality, this reality based on the pictures, on signs, on the names, and on differentiations based on them. They are nothing one can hold to, nothing which has a real existence. And with this, he has understanding of suchness, because he has this kind of awareness. So the text explains when these bodhisattva virtues are fulfilled, when the paramis are fulfilled, he manifests biggest body in the world, in the subtle form. So he manifests the biggest body possible in the subtle form. The subtle form is understanding of the subtle form and of the purity of mind is the privilege of the enlightened persons. According to the Abhidharma, only one has to be at least anagami, the third stage of realization, or to be reborn in Akanishka, the purest, highest level of existence in the fourth dhyana. And this highest level of existence in the fourth dhyana according to Abhidharma has this fourth dhyana also has the 5 levels, and the highest one in Akanishka, in the pure existence, is the forms that the Buddha manifests before he attains the unity with the Dharmakaya. According to Fazang, this manifestation of the greatest body in the world is the Anantaya Marga, is the cutting off of all the obstacles for identity with the true nature of things, with Dharmakaya. And then it leads to the Vimukti Marga, the path of liberation. First, you have to cut off all the obstacles for the bodhisattva, not only obstacles of the defilements, but also obstacles to perfect knowledge, which means the omniscience in all aspects, sarva akara, sarva gyata. When we have sarva akara, sarva gyata, we have the omniscience in all aspects. We become same as the dharmata or as the dharmakaya, as the fashion or as the fashing. So our wisdom has no obstacles. When our wisdom has no obstacles, because removing not only the obstacle of defilements of the mind, but also obstacle to perfect knowledge, then the karma vijnana, the karmic consciousness disappears, and one realizes the purity of the mind and the natural karma, unbound karma by any fixed ideas. So one can adopt to the ideas of the beings because one has no ideas of one's own. One has no. So, so this is a mysterious body of the Buddha, described in the Lotus Sutra, where it is called the Prabhu Buddha, who appears in the sky, in the stupa, to manifest the true nature of reality, which is not separated from our present Buddha, the Sakyamuni Buddha, and which is endowed with omniscience. So maybe now comes the questions. We can cover it next time. These questions, they are quite interesting, as well as the answers, and it will take us to the fourth chapter, which explains the practice of the actual practice of faith. The actual practice of faith it refers to now to the practice of the paramis in detail, which are necessary, that we really get, we become not the Nishita Gota, not the non-defined family, but we become clearly defined family. So most of us, we have all kinds of obstacles. In order to remove these obstacles, we have to practice the 4 kinds of faith and 5 kinds of the perfection practice, which we will discuss, then start discussing in the next lesson, and it will take us to the end of this treatise. Most important part in this 4th chapter is the practice of the Shamatha and Vipassana, which are connected together for a bodhisattva. So they are not separate. They become one, but we separate them to make them one. And that is a very interesting part connected with deep knowledge of this tradition. Yet it is explained in a very simple way. This Shamatha and Vipassana practice is explained in a very simple way. So we will have to go to other treatises to get a more detailed picture. Okay, so that much for today. And let us transfer merit, and that will be. So what is the next date? Today is 22nd. The next date is 31, no? Right?
29th, I think.
29.
29.
29.
29.
Where will I be 29? I am now traveling and not sure where I will be, but I will try. If 29, I may be, they want to take me to, in- my friends in Taichung want to take me to Wenchuan, to the hot springs. So I hope I will be available. What is the next date after 28th?
29.
You have a, after 29th is what is
After
the next
29
day?
is the 5th
5th,
of April.
5th April.
5th of April, I will be flying back to Czech. So well, I have to make sure 5th of April we can have a lesson because I will be on the airport.
Okay, Pastor.
And I will make sure whatever conditions are to teach you on the 29th. Okay?
Okay,
And
Pastor.
then the 6th, we won't be able to do. And on the 12th, I have a lecture for Madrid University. So, whole day lecture I am supposed to have for Madrid University. On if you're interested, I send you the link. It is on the. My Spanish is not enough, so it will be on the for Brahma Viharas. It will be in English if you're interested. How the concept of Brahma Viharas develops from the Agamas to the Mahayana and Tantrayana.
Please send me, please send us the link, Pastor.
Okay, so next week we will make for sure. On the 5th and on the 12th, I think I'm afraid we will have to cancel and then we continue as usual. Okay,
Yes, Pastor. Thank you.
so let us meet on the 29th as usual. The our time here, the China time at 8:30 and your time 7:30.
Yes, Pastor.
And I understood on the 30th of March, the European friends, they will get summertime. So as a result of that, the difference will not be uh, 6-7 hours difference between Jakarta time and Paris time is 7 hours, no? So
Six,
it will
6 hours now.
it will become 6 hours.
Then it's summertime is 5 hours difference, but now it's still 6 hours.
It now it's 7 hours difference. Jakarta time and your time is
6 hours.
6 hours different.
But in
So
summertime, it will be 5 hours difference.
5 hours difference. For Chinese friends, it will be 6 hours difference, and now it is 7 hours difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so time is always changing, and we are, even though we are supposed to be living in a time and timelessness at the same time, we have some idea of timelessness by understanding the relativity of the time. So anyway, so see you next week. Now it is 10 o'clock, and have a nice weekend and a nice week, and see you after 1 week. Maybe I will be in the hot spring, so I will show you. No, it will be too dark. Today I would show you, I can send some pictures how beautiful it is here. The ocean and the coconut palms everywhere. So all the best, and let us transfer merit for the benefit of all sentient beings, and meet next week. 愿你自空的不计一切，我等一众生皆空成佛道。May the merits of this practice spread to all beings, so that we attain the state of perfect realization. Om Mitobo. Bye bye, friends. See you.
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master.
Gracias. Obrigado. Bye bye.
Tchau.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you. Thank you, Bante.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Hey, wir sind grün. Warum sind wir jetzt grün geworden?